I just spent hours coding this game in the Dark Beacon studio, by which I mean a laptop on a garden table in my living room. And I did it to show you why determinism is not as limiting as you've been told. This is a deterministic system. Every square on this screen obeys fixed rules. There is no randomness, no choice, no exception. And yet, once it begins, there is no way to know what it will become without letting it unfold. Not because it is complex, but because it computes itself. And this simple game you're watching now reveals something uncomfortable about the universe, and about the way we think about our own lives. When we think about the universe at its largest scales, there are two ideas that tend to dominate the conversation. Either reality is deterministic, meaning every event was set in motion at the moment of the Big Bang, like a film already written, waiting to be played. Or reality is not deterministic, meaning the Big Bang was merely the construction of a stage, governed by rules, on which an open-ended story continues to unfold. Both possibilities would have profound implications for the universe, and for us. Because if the deterministic view is taken at face value, we are often told that your life has no real agency, that every choice you have ever made was already encoded in the fabric of reality 13.8 billion years ago. And if reality is not deterministic, then you are, in some deeper sense, writing your own story on the largest stage there is. In this video, I'm going to use a very simple game to show you why that framing, both of them, misses something crucial, and why determinism, even if it's true, does not mean your choices don't matter. What you're watching is called Conway's Game of Life, created by mathematician John Conway in 1970. Despite the name, it isn't a game in the usual sense. There are no players, no objectives, no winning states. It's better understood as a two-dimensional universe with a third dimension, time, advancing in discrete steps. At each step, every cell updates according to the same rules. Each cell looks only at its 8 immediate neighbours. If a living cell has fewer than 2 neighbours, it dies, what Conway described as underpopulation. If it has more than 3, it dies, overpopulation. If it has exactly 2 or 3, it survives, a narrow zone where conditions are just right. A dead cell comes to life only if it has exactly 3 living neighbours. That's the entire system. There is no randomness anywhere in this universe, no hidden variables, no dice rolls behind the scenes. The same starting state will always produce the same future, and nothing new ever enters. Every structure you see forming, every collision, every pattern, every moment of apparent purpose emerges entirely from these rules interacting with themselves over time. This is what a fully deterministic universe looks like when you let it run. Okay, this is the system, freshly launched. I'm going to seed this universe with a random starting state. This is just one seed out of almost infinitely many. This part matters because this is where a lot of confusion begins. The randomness here is not part of the system itself. It only determines how the universe starts. Once the simulation begins, the randomness is gone. From this point on, every change you see follows deterministically from the state immediately before it. If I reset this and begin again from the same initial state, the outcome will be identical every time. Different beginnings, identical rules. And this is where people often make their first mistake. I'm going to pause the simulation here. When people hear that a system is deterministic, this is what they picture. A future that already exists, compressed into the starting state, just waiting to be revealed. Now I'm going to start it again. If that picture were accurate, then in principle, there should be a way to know what this will look like 10,000 steps from now. So instead of letting it run, I'm going to step it forward manually. Each state only exists because the one before it existed. There is no stored answer to skip ahead to. The only way to know what comes next is to let it happen. I'm going to reset this. Now, if determinism really worked the way it's often imagined, there should be some way to bypass this process. Some calculation, some equation, some shortcut that lets you jump straight to the answer. So instead of watching it evolve, I'm going to try to get ahead of it. The problem is, there is no general way to do that. Not because the rules are hidden, not because the system is random, but because the future of this system is not stored anywhere. It doesn't exist yet. Each new state has to be produced by applying the rules to the state before it. This moment only exists because the previous one existed, and there is no description of the beginning, no matter how complete, that can skip this process entirely. The future doesn't exist as a formula. It exists only as something that must be computed one step at a time. There's one more thing that matters here. This system isn't just producing patterns, it's capable of computation. In fact, with the right starting conditions, this grid can implement logic gates, memory, and even a fully functional computer. Not metaphorically, literally. The game of life is computationally universal. That means that, in principle, any computation that can be performed by any computer can be performed inside this grid. Not because it was designed to, not because it understands what it's doing, but because rule-based systems can process information once the right structures exist. With a sufficiently large grid and the correct initial configuration, there is no fundamental limit to what can be computed here. Keep that in mind, because it adds an important layer to everything that comes next. If you're finding this interesting, a like helps the channel more than you'd expect. And if you disagree, tell me why. Let's continue. Up to now, I've been careful not to talk about us. Because the moment humans enter the picture, people stop reasoning and start defending beliefs. But notice what we've already established. We've seen that a deterministic system can generate novelty without randomness, that it can produce structures that persist, interact, and influence what happens next, that it can process information, that it can compute, and that none of this requires the future to already exist. Now, something important. None of this tells us whether our universe is deterministic. Physics isn't settled on that question, and different interpretations of quantum mechanics disagree on what is fundamental: randomness, probability, or hidden structure. It also doesn't tell us what consciousness ultimately is. It may turn out that conscious experience cannot arise inside a deterministic system at all, that awareness requires indeterminacy, or something not captured by computation. Those are live possibilities. This video isn't an argument against them. It's an argument against a much narrower claim. The claim that if the universe is deterministic, then your choices are meaningless, that agency disappears, that nothing you do truly matters. What this system shows is that determinism alone does not get you there. Even in a fully rule-bound universe, process matters, structure matters, participation matters. If consciousness is a process, something that unfolds over time, then it does not need to be exempt from causation to be meaningful. Your decisions do not have to break the rules of the universe to matter. They matter because they are the rules, playing out through a particular structure. Just as patterns inside this system shape what happens next, you shape the future you inhabit by the states you pass through now. Not because the universe is watching, not because the outcome is undecided, but because the future does not exist until it is constructed, one moment at a time. Determinism doesn't erase you, it only tells you where you are. If all of this has triggered thoughts of simulation theory, you're not alone. And it wouldn't be Dark Beacon if we didn't at least explore how that idea might relate to what you're seeing here. There's a feature of this system I haven't shown you yet. Let's call it developer mode. I can intervene. From inside this universe, this event has no prior cause. It doesn't follow from the previous state. It isn't encoded in the initial conditions, and it doesn't violate the rules. The rules still apply. They always do. But the state has been changed by something outside the system. From the inside, this looks like randomness, or luck, or noise, but it isn't. It's intervention. Now, I'll let you draw your own conclusions, but ask yourself this: what if our universe also has a developer mode? Not one we can access, not one we can detect, just one we can't rule out. From inside a system, the laws can be complete and still not be final. The universe may be deterministic, or it may not. Consciousness may be fundamental, or it may be emergent, or something we haven't named yet. This video doesn't answer those questions. It asks a simpler one. If reality is governed by rules, does that mean meaning disappears? Or does meaning live inside the process itself, inside the structures that persist, the choices that propagate, the states that only exist because this one did? From inside a system, the future is never waiting. It is always being built. Whatever this universe ultimately is, you are not outside it. You are part of how it unfolds. Thanks for watching. See you next time.